Ah, we are on the beach again. I wonder what that can mean. Huh. I wonder if there is a camera to talk about, because usually this is where we come when there's a new camera and a lot of birds. It all checks out. The birds are here. I am here. There must be a new camera. Let's talk about it. This is FX30. This is Sony FX30, their first APS-C size sensor camera from their cinema line, and it does everything we ever wanted from an APS-C camera, Sony APS-C camera, to do.
And the great news is it looks exactly like Sony FX3. It has the same magnesium alloy chassis, it is dust and moist resistant, has all the fantastic mounting options, it has the cooling fan. The only difference is F illuminator self-timer lamp, of course the sensor size, and the price. Other than that, everything looks the same.
First of all, this thing is 26 megapixel and it has a backside illuminated sensor. It can shoot up to 4K 60 frames per second, 4:2 10-bit, yes, 4:2 10-bit video, and it oversamples from 6K. And if you want to shoot in 4K 120 frames per second, yes, this camera can do that as well. It does it with 1.6x crop. It can record in XAVC-HS or it can record in XAVC-SI, all intra. It delivers 14 stops dynamic range with S-Log 3. It has dual base ISO 800 and 2500, and the ISO can be extended to 32,000. Of course, needless to say, it has face detection autofocus. It has face and eye autofocus with tracking, which we know and love. It has 5-axis in-body image stabilization. It has active mode, which adds on top of that and stabilizes even more in camera. But if you don't want to do that, it records gyro data and you can bring it into Catalyst Browse and stabilize it the way you want it with the level of stabilization you want it. On top of that, this kind of makes me a little bit jealous, but it has focus breathing compensation and focus map. The two features we know and love from A7 IV is now in this beautiful camera.
If you don't know what focus breathing is, let me explain it to you very quickly. See how the composition of my frame is changing as I change focus? It seems like we're zooming in and out a little. That's focus breathing. When you turn on focus breathing compensation, if the camera knows the lens, in this case it is a lens from Sony, so the camera knows it, the camera keeps the composition same just by adding a little crop to the image. Focus map is a feature that shows what's in focus, what is behind, and what is in front of it. I love this feature because it is very easy to see what is in focus. The things that are in blue are in the back, and the things that are in orange are in front of the focus. But wait, there's more. FX30 also has a feature called variable shutter, and when you turn on variable shutter, if you have lights that are flickering like the one I have here, you can go with smaller increments and change the shutter speed until you find a position where the lights don't flicker anymore. Also, you can use FX30 as a webcam. When you connect it to your computer with the cable, you can stream up to 1080p 60, or if you want a higher resolution, you can stream up to 4K 15 frames per second.
I'm thinking you're expecting a but at this point, but it has one memory card slot or something like that. No, it has two memory card slots. It supports CF Express Type A or UHS-2 SDXC memory cards. It has full-size HDMI, and if you use that port, you can get 16-bit footage out of this camera into an external recorder. It has USB-C port, which supports power delivery, which you can power up this camera as long as you want, and it supports fast charging. It has a micro USB port a headphone in, a microphone in, and headphone out. It has it all. You can set everything to auto and use it like that, but because it's a cinema line camera, it has all the high-end features that we know and love from, I don't know, my FX3.
Like Cine AI. If FX3 in regular mode is like a Porsche, in Cine AI, it is a Porsche with no passenger seats, no glove compartment, no nothing. It is a full-on monster in racing mode. That is what Cine AI basically is. And if you're an advanced user, you're gonna love this mode. You can choose from the base ISO and start filming with the highest dynamic range this camera can give you. Besides the default ones, you can also import your own LUT to the camera and see what the footage will look like after you apply the LUT. Also, when you import your footage from the camera, the LUT gets imported with it as well. As you can see here, I use my own LUT with my FX3 all the time.
And the multi-shoe interface on top of it, it supports the handle, and unlike FX3, you can buy this with the handle or without the handle.
The handle is same as FX3's handle. It has two XLR inputs and one 3.5mm microphone cable in, which is actually very similar to XLR K3M. However, XLR K3M comes with a microphone and it has digital/analog selector. Oh, and needless to say, since FX30 has a multi-shoe interface port, you can mount your other microphones like ECM-B10 and start filming right away.
It has a beautiful menu system that they just brought to FX3. That same menu system is in this camera now. It weighs 562 grams, body only, and with the memory card and battery, it weighs 646 grams, which is a little heavy compared to the other APS-C cameras, but considering what it can do, I think it's totally acceptable. And this thing costs $1,799 without the handle, and with the handle, it costs $2,200. I mean, I wanted to get this part out as fast as I can because I want to go around and have fun. Let's have fun with this camera. FX3 is such a handsome camera that whenever you see it, you're like, I gotta go shoot something, I gotta create something, I gotta make something with this camera because it's such a great looking camera, let alone its capabilities. It also, there's a really cute dog. Hey, you wanna be friends? It also inspires you to make content. And I'm so glad this thing looks exactly like that. It has all beautiful buttons. We have the zoom in and zoom out rocker, nicely built. I'm so glad they went with FX3's body. Overheating? What is that? What is that even? This thing is not gonna overheat because just like FX3, it has a fan at its back that takes care of overheating for even longer recording time. Also battery. Yeah, you guessed it, it's the battery from the full frame sensor cameras. So battery life, unknown, 10 years, 15 years. Who can say? Gerald can say. We gotta go and ask Gerald about that.
Shh, keep it down. The baby's sleeping in the other room. It's just a camera. You don't need to be so loud. What do you want to know? Battery life? I'm actually shooting on the camera right now. This is the webcam functionality, the USB streaming. Looks pretty good. Anyway, yeah, I tested the battery life. It's I got just over 2 hours in 4K 24, and then I got around 90 minutes in the higher frame rates. A little bit more in 4K 60, a little bit less in 4K 120. That was the battery dying. It didn't overheat at any of those times. And it can run a lot longer if you use USB power delivery, which is what I'm doing now with the USB streaming. It can run pretty much indefinitely if you give it sufficient power over USB. Now, shh. I'm gonna go back and look after the baby. Can we keep it down for a few minutes?
This is recorded in 4K 120 frames per second, and this is the 1.6 6x crop. Now let's switch to 4K 24 and see the difference. This is 4K 24 and this is the 20. We're using 20 megapixels of the 26 megapixel sensor because it cuts from top and bottom. Look at this, this is so easy. If I want to switch, I just swipe from bottom up, go from 24 to 120 frames per second, and there you go, we're set. We're shooting in 120 frames per second, just like that, and I can go and change other settings easily as well. Okay, as the day ended, I'm very tired too. I've been shooting with this camera all day long and it has been nothing but a pleasure. The thing is, I didn't even feel like at certain point that I didn't even feel like this is an APS-C sensor. It is so good. Oversampling from 6K is really nicely done, and it adds so much quality to the footage that I enjoyed a lot. And 10-bit and 4:2, in case you don't know what 10-bit is, it basically means we have more color to work with when it comes to the footage, and being able to dial in the professional settings that we like to use is so good. I have only nice things to say apart from the shutter angle. Other than that, everything went really well. I think I used almost 2 batteries, maybe a little more than 2, because I went back home to see the footage and I came back to Griffith Observatory. It's really good. I used full frame sensor lenses, I used APS-C lenses, and it just works with everything. And I love the fact that I can use Cine EI and put in whatever I like to put in before I start shooting. It's great. It's a great job, Sony. It almost makes me wanna, no, I have too much full frame, but you know, you put it in my mind. Okay, great.